Today we're covering Rule 10 of White Magic, which is the longest rule. It's going to take us a little while to get through this. He covers a lot of territory. And he talks a lot about the astral plane, which is a big source of problems for all disciples at one time or another. Even after they master the astral plane, they have to deal with astral energy and everyone they're associating with. So it's a pretty big deal. Let me repeat the rule one more time. As the waters bathe the form created, they are absorbed and used. The form increases in its strength. Let the magician continue until the work suffices. Let the outer builders cease their labors and let the inner workers enter on their cycle. Okay. So we're talking about the waters of creation, which waters always refer to the emotions, and the emotions are directed through or linked to the astral energy. Astral, and think of astral and emotion as and feeling as the same thing, basically. We're talking about two factors as far as the astral energy was concerned that we had to deal with. We talked about last week, which was fear and depression. And he says there's three other factors that he didn't want to spend any time on. He didn't think that was of great importance, because he says these will take care of themselves if we take care of fear and depression. And the other three are desire for satisfaction of animal appetites. And we'll just briefly talk about these three that he mentioned here. And animal appetites is a big one, and it's connected strongly with the feeling energy, because people feel that if they have their body wants something, or that they should have it, and so controlling these things is so they're under the control of the soul is a big achievement. But if we take care of the basics and focus correctly, then this will be take care of itself eventually. The next one is the desire for happiness, which is kind of an interesting one. How is it that the desire for happiness can be used in a wrong direction? What do you think? Isn't it good to desire happiness? What really brings happiness when you think about it? Is it deciding you want happiness and going after it? Is that what makes people happy? Or does something else produce happiness?
Depends on what you think is happiness. I think there is what we call bliss, which is the bliss of the soul.
Yeah, that's true.
There could be the exhilaration of having your appetites fulfilled.
Right, and what Buddha also says is, the Buddha says stress puts a lot of stress on the fact that happiness is just temporary. Once you achieve some happiness, well, it lasts for a little while and then it's just gone. Then you got to find a new source of happiness. Whereas, and this is what happens when we pursue our various goals, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but to produce a permanent state of contentment where we're have that inner fulfillment happens not by trying to produce happiness from a selfish point of view, but by becoming the servant, forgetting yourself and just plunging yourself into a goal that will benefit humanity as a whole. And when a person sets himself on that path, he pretty much is on a permanent path to happiness may not be the exact right will, because you don't do it with a big grin on your face all the time, but you go forward in a state of contentment. And that's what people are really after, is a state where you feel just content with yourself, a state of peace. And whereas happiness is, if your team wins the big football game, well, you're really happy for about an hour or two, and then then it's pretty much gone. But if you're content, even if your team loses, it doesn't disturb your peace. You may be, your emotional body may have a little bit of a downer for a while, but you're still content with yourself. You don't feel condemning, you didn't do anything wrong, because your team lost or whatever. But so this desire for happiness, if a person puts a wrong focus on happiness, this can disturb him, interfere with the soul connection. And the other thing, which is interesting, the third thing that he mentioned, but he's not going to elaborate on, is desire for liberation or aspiration. How can this be a distraction from the path of the soul? Yeah, man, I want to really succeed and be a great agent of light. Can a person have an attitude that's actually leads him the wrong direction here?
Well,
yeah.
They can, in that way, they can often feel more, I don't know, more advanced than others, and put some arrogance there.
Yeah,
in some cases.
That can be a problem, a little bit of ego getting in there. It's a little bit like, the principle's a little bit like happiness. You don't obtain happiness by seeking happiness, but it's not the destination, they say, but the journey. The journey is what's important. And the same thing with seeking for liberation and to aspire to greater spirituality. This is achieved not by doing it for self. It goes back to self and not self. Jesus said that he who seeks to save his life shall lose it, and he who will lose his life for my sake shall save it. And this principle is applied for happiness and also aspiration. He who seeks happiness shall not find it, but he that will forfeit happiness to bring happiness to others will find happiness, you could say. And the same thing with aspiration. He who aspires for personal gain shall lose it, but he who seeks to bring assistance to others will find his own progress enhanced. And this is a principle that Jesus put together that applies to a lot of things. In other words, the true disciple must lose himself in service, and in losing himself in service to help others, he will attain for himself. And this is the true path of attainment.
This is the difference between happiness and joyfulness.
Right. Joyfulness is really acquired by tuning into the soul. Right. When the person makes a soul connection, he connects with a source of joy that never really goes away. The only time the joy goes away is when you're distracted from that soul connection, which happens with daily life. Problems that come up make you think of other things besides your soul connection. But if the disciple is able to maintain that soul connection, he'll feel a sense of inward peace and joy that's always there, present within himself. He's just got to keep that focus going all the time, which requires a lot of attention. He makes this statement: when fear and depression are overcome, the race will enter into its heritage of happiness or true satisfaction, and other astral problems will take care of itself. So when fear and depression, these two things are overcome. And yeah, it's amazing how many people have a lot of problems connected with those two things. The next thing he wants to talk about is overcoming the wrong vibrations in the astral body and the use of astral energy pointing in the right direction. Astral body of the average human being is scarcely ever free from some mood, some fear, some excitement, and this causes it to be overdeveloped. The same with the sacral center. So that we have he says the overdevelopment of the astral body and the sacral center happens because of wrong focus. We have people being subject to moods. Moods is a really big one. People go through all kinds of moods, and it causes a stimulation of the astral body, and especially our moods. Now he says excitement. Most people don't have a lot of excitement in their lives. Maybe happens once a week, something exciting maybe, but so I don't think that's nearly as big as just moods and fears that people have. And he says, because of our society, the way it's built and the way we're informed, the connections that we have, we're watching the news and all kinds of negative things going on there affect our astral body. Our astral body is overstimulated. Now, in this age right now, where we're in the past few years since Trump was elected, people's astral bodies on both sides are really stimulated a lot, like maybe we've never seen before. And he does point out later on that, this is a sign that solutions are around the corner, and we may actually it could actually be a sign that greater things are awaiting us as society. But anyway, we do know, and we can observe, we're watching TV, all the debates going on, all the complaints, that the astral bodies of people, not only the United States, but the whole world. Look at France going on right now. The astral bodies of those people are really stimulated. So we got sacral center is bad enough, which controls sex, but the astral body, the feeling nature of people throughout the whole world right now is really in high stimulation, like maybe we've never seen before, not in our lifetimes anyway. And so in this situation, the disciple needs to put even extra focus on maintaining balance in his own life. And so this is difficult for many people, because it's so easy to get sucked in to that feeling nature. I'm finding here lately there's so much negativity on the news. I haven't been watching the news as much as I used to. I've been reading more books and stuff rather than just watching the news, and trying to keep my mind focused on more positive things, because it's kind of depressing watching some of these debates going on, especially how illogical some people are, and how people are just completely one side or the other, and they're very polarized. And just watching that over and over stimulates the astral body. Now, when your astral body is stimulated for the disciple, he needs to be the observer and see, my astral body is a little stimulated, so I'll tune it down a little bit and put it under my control. And this is the approach the disciple needs to take. He goes on here, he says he makes this interesting statement. The solar plexus in the animal is the brain and governs all instinctual reactions, but is not so closely allied with the pure sex expression as it is in the human being. Now, this is a problem with the human beings, is that our brain is in our head, where the animal's brain is in their feeling nature, which is kind of interesting statement. And because their brain is in their feeling nature, he says their sexual desire is quite a bit different than us. And ours is connected with our feelings. So if you once you have a really good feeling about somebody else, the sexual attraction can be a lot stronger. And so the feeling and sex, he says, go hand in hand. So if the astral body is stimulated, it's quite possible the sexual desires, barriers will come down, and the desire will be stronger in that area. So he says both of these need to be controlled by the mind, and the disciple needs to understand his limits, because everybody has different limits. Once the astral body is stimulated to a certain degree, then for most people it reaches a point where it controls them more than they control it. So never let your astral body get stimulated so much that it controls you more than you control it. Think of times when you've gotten real angry. Have you ever got so angry that you could not control the anger? Or had your feelings hurt so much that you could not, that it controlled you rather than the other way around? So the important thing for the disciple is to recognize his limits and never let them be reached. Always keep yourself in control of your emotions. And if they're too stimulated, then do something else to move them in a different direction. Okay, because we all have
positive emotions as well.
Right. It's good to read positive books, watch, maybe some comedy on TV or something rather than something depressing. Matter of fact, humor can be a tremendous healing asset. People have healed themselves by watching comedy type movies even. So
laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah, it is. It's really a powerful neutralizer of negative astral energy. And yeah, we need, you notice these people on the left used to be make fun of everything and laugh at everything, but all of a sudden they're like losing their sense of humor. And since Trump got elected, people on the left are not laughing very much, and this is what we need. We need to make fun of ourselves a little bit more, and instead of taking everything so serious.
Well, JJ, I must admit, today I was reading quite a lot of the arguments going on in everything that was put or written about Trump, and it's amazing how nasty people can get.
Yeah, we're just losing our lightheartedness.
Yes, it's really. And when you say that it's stimulating the astral body, I got really like almost physically sick, after a little while, because
Yeah, it can make you physically sick if you get too much negative emotion. And we just need to get back to being a little bit more lighthearted about things. I mean, that's we're not entering the apocalypse yet, anyway. So, this is an important principle. He says, it's the goal of the disciple to raise the consciousness above the diaphragm. In other words, the disciple has to raise his consciousness above the control of the astral body of the lower feelings, and raise his consciousness up to the heart. So what's the difference between the feelings of the heart and the feelings of the solar plexus? What do you think on that? Let's pick on somebody here. Well, let's pick on old Curtis. What's the difference there, Curtis?
Well, you have the solar plexus is connected to your personality and your feelings. All your organs relate to a different emotion. So, like anger is associated with the liver, for example, or the spleen with fear, or different emotions are connected to different organs, which is all in your lower, not just your sacral center, but your solar plexus. The heart's more connected to the soul. So by raising it up to the soul, which is also an organ of feeling, you're not feeling the lower emotions, but you're feeling a higher energy of love, compassion, the acceptance, forgiveness, letting go of resistance in the heart center. So you can really be of service from the level of the soul. And that's my understanding of connecting with the higher center, not forsaking the feelings of the lower, but mastering them.
Right. And when we have a choice between fear and love and joyousness, when you sense those two feelings and you have the choice, which one are you going to choose?
Well, if I have a choice between what? Between fear and
joy, fear and love.
Well, I'm going to choose joy, which is a struggle. The struggle
Right.
is which side of the fulcrum or the teeter-totter are you teetering on?
Yeah, and it's interesting. We always have a choice. In the heart, you have the feeling of love and joyousness. In the solar plexus, we have more fear. We have fear and depression, and the negative. There's a lot of negative things to choose there. So why don't people choose the higher? Why do you think that is? We always have that choice, but people don't make the right choice. Why is that the case? Let's pick on somebody else here. Let me see. Melva, why do you think that is? Why do people choose to focus on the lower emotions rather than the higher?
I think it's a lot of it's habit, isn't it? I mean, our brain, okay, I'm trying to think here how to put this in words. We have patterns or loops in our brain that automatically, we start programming them in childhood, and you get certain loops and stuff going, and it becomes like a habit.
Yeah, that's true. And the thing about the negative emotions is they loom much with a lot more energy on the average consciousness. And it seems like you don't have the choice for the good emotions. It seems like you can only have the good emotions when XYZ will occur. Then the good emotions will be there. But that's not true. The good emotions are always there waiting for you to tune into them. And this is where the deception lies. And this is why so many people keep focusing on the negative emotions, is because they don't think the good emotions are even available. But they are available. They're always available if the person will shift his attention to them. And this is what the disciple eventually learns to do, is he learns that he always has the choice. He always has the choice to put his attention on the more positive emotion and let them control rather than the lower emotions assuming control. So that's an interesting thing.
Well, like in that polarization in the lower emotions, even my wife, when I went down and told her that we were forming a healing circle, rather than be elated, oh boy, I got to go in and get some healing energy and jumping for joy, all
Yeah.
of that is like the resistance kicked in. It's like, oh, well, I didn't get enough notice. My hair's wet.
Yeah.
Oh, that Joe, who does he think he is? I mean, so all little demons started coming up. I said, well, it's a good thing that everybody wants to participate in your healing, and it's funny that you're the only one that doesn't. And so she had to think that through, and I think a little light came in, and she said, well, you know what? Oh, if that's the case, okay. But it wasn't easy for her to just say, okay, yeah, well, I'd love to go into that healing circle.
Yeah, well, whenever you take a step forward, it's those negative forces from the lower centers trying to pull you backwards. That's just really normal. Edward, you had something to say there?
Well, I say that, we get too concerned about the appearances of things, and we have to realize that everything is in a state of becoming, and things have to be broken. We're birthing the Aquarian age, and many of the evils of the past are coming to the surface. They're expressing their voice. And the president we have now may be just the instrument to cause the kind of breaking of old forms.
Yeah, I think he's a powerful first ray person, and the first ray people are just come in like a bowl in a china shop in the second and sixth ray energies.
Well, it's bringing to the surface in the news a lot of the evils of the personality, the evils of the news, the evils of the politics. It has to be brought to the surface. We have to see it as it is, and we have to have a higher vision and realize that the elders of the planet, the hierarchy, the ones who know, are in charge of all this, and they bring these things to us.
Yeah. A lot of people think the election of Donald Trump was a great mistake, but it may be just the medicine that the world needs. You never know. Whatever happens in as far as big events are concerned, can be used for good or bad depending on our approach to them. Okay, he says now he wants to talk about, he says, how about different energies which influence the astral body. And he kind of goes into some kind of esoteric things here. He says the first thing that influences our astral body is the sentient body of the planet Earth itself. This is something most people don't even think of. He says this is, in other words, the astral body or the spirit of the earth. This entity is not the planetary logos, but a being of great power on the involutionary arc, who holds the same relation to the planetary logos as the astral elemental does to the human being. Okay, so visualize it this way. That which is your consciousness is composed of all kinds of tinier lives that make up your whole being. From the tiny lives of the cell to the life of the organs to the life of your whole body, physical body as a whole, then you have the life of your astral body as a whole. And the planetary logos is linked to a life form which he calls the spirit of the earth, that possesses the astral body of the earth itself. And this is a powerful, great entity that's involving. And so this entity, the astral body of the earth itself, emits powerful forces that causes great feelings to be generated in all life forms that's on the Earth. So this is interesting, and it says its life is composed of many lesser lives and represents the personality of the planetary logos. So the Earth has a personality, and it's we don't see it very clearly because these greater lives are on a different time level than we are here. Like one teaching is that a heartbeat of the planet Earth takes 25,000 years, for instance. But in the meantime, we see the personality of the Earth and the flowers, the vegetation, the animals. We can sense different vibrations of the planet, and these vibrations affect us and our feelings. Then he says the second thing that affects our astral bodies, this is something else that people don't associate with affecting their feelings, is astral energy from non-physical planets. He says 2 of them are near our Earth that have died physically, as our moon is in the process of dying. He says our moon is a dying orb that will eventually disappear from the skies when its death is complete. But after a planet dies, he says that the physical dies first, but the astral part remains. And it becomes kind of a negative force after it dies. And he says there's 2 dying planets that affect us. And he says one of them influences cruelty and the other influences sexual perversion. And so people tune in to these dying planets that we can't even see through our telescopes, but their astral bodies tune into them, he says, and picks up this energy of cruelty and sexual perversion. And so that energy is just out there, and if people have the wrong focus, they can tune into it. Now, then there are other planets that are not dying, but coming into incarnation. They haven't incarnated yet, and they're out there, but we can't see them yet. And these have a more positive vibration. So the ones going out of incarnation have a negative effect on the lower natures of some people. And then the ones coming down to incarnation have a more positive effect. He talks about a great descending planet he says is fairly near our Earth. There's a planet near our Earth that we cannot see that has a positive effect that breaks down barriers of too strong of individualism and nationalism. Now, we often see individualism and nationalism as positive, and all these things have positive and negative. You don't want to lose your individuality so much that you just join a mob mentality and want to lynch somebody. But so you want to keep a certain amount of individualism, and you don't want to do away with nationalism so much that your country will be overrun with so many people that it's destroyed. So you want a balance in all these things. And this is where common sense comes in. And he talks a lot about common sense. He brings that up often after he talks about how things should be, then he often will end that common sense needs to prevail. So individualism there can be too much of it or not enough, but and same thing with nationalism. Now, our problem with the borders is an interesting thing. They say that a lot of people that are into metaphysics and the ancient wisdom feel that we shouldn't have any borders. But when you think of it, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and probably about 6 billion of them would like to come here to the United States. Now, if we had even a billion of them come here, we would, the United States would not be the United States anymore. It would be completely destroyed. So the common sense needs to enter in. The ideal that the Tibetan put forward is a world to come where there will be no borders, and that is indeed something to look forward to. But to have this occur, we have to have situations evolve where the nations have a relationship similar to what the United States has with Canada. We don't have a whole bunch of Canadians wanting to come here and overrun our system, and we don't have a bunch of people from the United States wanting to go to Canada and overtax their system. There's a balance there, and there's a balance because there's an equality which has been achieved between Canada and the United States. Both places are fairly pleasant places to live with similar type of amenities. On the other hand, because of the Mexican and political systems of Mexico and South America, there are terrible means of government down there where the people are not put first by their own governments. There's an imbalance, and that imbalance is creating a problem that makes it impractical to eliminate the borders between the two countries. So what the disciples of the world need to do is work with these various countries. I mean, like, look at Mexico. They have a great climate down there. They have a lot longer growing season than we have here. They have a lot of natural resources. They got everything, all the means necessary to produce all kinds of abundance if they had a better political and governmental system. And so what the nations need to do, the productive nations and the abundant nations, is to work with the less abundant nations to make them more productive and beneficial to their constituents. So when this is achieved, if Mexico were able to achieve a higher level of prosperity, then we wouldn't have any problem. Then we could have no borders, and people would be happy to live in either country, or equally happy at least. Some people are never happy no matter what's going on, but we'd be equally. We want to produce a situation where all the countries of the world can take care of their people. And when this happens, then you won't have a big migration from, or desire to migrate from one country to another. And so that's the solution, but it's a solution that may take some time before it's applied, but that's where we need to put our attention. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I have one comment. As long as there are hostility in the hearts of people, it's just common sense to protect your borders also. It's like your friend Wayne that never closed his house. He thought that you should always trust people. But,
yeah.
but it's not the world we live in. So it's just, yeah. I sent to Donald Trump your article about the Pope and Donald, which is an old one about the walls. Where
Yeah.
you mentioned the walls of, Jerusalem and all the other places, and also around the Vatican. So I hope he reads it, because that was really good.
Yeah, it's interesting that the walls around the city of the New Jerusalem, described in the book of Revelations, does anyone remember how big they are? They're 1,500 miles high. So that's a pretty darn big wall. And it says that outside of the walls are all the riffraff, and inside are the ones that focus on God. Okay, so the there's giant walls around the city of New Jerusalem. But what's interesting, I keep reading the paper on letters of the editor, people writing in saying, if you're a follower of Christ, you don't believe in walls. But yeah, there's a big wall around the New Jerusalem to keep out the negative people that would destroy the positive energy that is in there. And so if you're going to create a New Jerusalem, it needs to be created with people that have positive people gathering with positive people. If you have, say, 12 really positive people together, they can create a really pleasant situation. But you have one really negative Debbie Downer coming in, all of a sudden the attention is all on this Debbie Downer person, and he or she can destroy the mood of the entire group by creating all the focus on him or her at that point. Well, that's an interesting thing, but inclusiveness doesn't mean that we mix all the positive and negative together. Inclusiveness means that we take the people that are negative and we try to produce a path for them so that they can come up to the positive level and they can blend in and be productive. And that's the true meaning of inclusiveness. It means we don't want to just send them to hell forever. We want to do everything we can to assist and bring them in.
So JJ,
Yeah.
this is Michael. This is Michael.
Yeah.
So just a comment. The United States, well, and European countries too, but I think especially us, have a pretty big history of going into lesser developed countries, especially in Latin and Central America, overthrowing freely elected governments, staging coups, putting in dictators that allow us to go in and basically rape the country economically. We destroyed Iraq and caused a big mess in the Middle East. The living conditions are intolerable. And then we blame people for being refugees and wanting to come here and get away or go somewhere else. So I think we should really take a look at our role in creating a lot of this mess. When they had the coup about 10 years ago down in Honduras, it was a relatively stable country. I think Hillary and Obama were a little complicit in that. They were happy that a dictator came in that was a little more amenable to business interests. And that was one of the things that created a horrible situation there. So we have a pattern of causing a lot of the problems. And then when desperate people are trying to escape and just live, well, we don't want you coming here. So as always, it's like, what's the underlying cause? How do you go to the source of the problem and start dealing with it there? Because most of the things that I see are we're reacting to an effect, but we are not looking at a cause. And until that happens, nothing really is going to change. You just keep putting out fires that didn't have to exist in the first place.
Yeah, we've done good and bad. Iraq wasn't very good under Saddam Hussein either, so it was good that we got rid of him. But the United States has done good and bad in the world. Look what we did after World War II with Japan and Germany, how much better they are off now than before. So we've done good and bad. We've made mistakes, but even without us, look at without us, the developing countries in the third world have a lot of problems. With or without us, they have dictators generating all kinds of problems. A lot of the countries in Africa have dictators that we try to send them food, and the dictators use it for their own resources, and the people don't get the food and they don't get the assistance. So there's a lot of problems around the world, and when we try to solve the problems, we sometimes make them worse, and sometimes we help a little, some other times we don't. So but what we need to do as a country is to, and a lot of people are trying to do this, and a lot of people in the government have think they're trying to help when they're not helping. But we need to perfect our means of assistance so that we do actually help the people. One of the ways I thought would be good to help the people in these third world countries is, instead of sending money and assistance to dictators that just take it and use it to increase their own power, is to somehow make it loans or grants available to common people that just completely bypass the governments of these third world countries. So the people have more power. So
I'm really interested in an experiment that China's been working with, where everybody in the community is rated for their community cooperation, spirit, whatnot. And if you get a low rating, it affects your credit rating.
Oh yeah.
These communities have completely eliminated, criminal behavior and whatnot, because people don't want it to affect your credit. Everybody's nice to everybody else so they can get good credit ratings.
Yeah, I think I saw a headline on that. Somebody was alarmed at that idea, but you're seeing some possibly positive results from it.
Yeah, Olivia posted a video about what they're doing over there, and I commented that, yeah, well, that I can see where that could provide people with milestones towards good behavior, and it seems to be working out, at least on the local level, that they're trying it. They want to make it the whole country works that way.
Yeah, that's one thing we need to do, and all the nations need to do, is look at things all the other nations are doing, and when they produce good results, then do the same thing. But yeah, but I think the key to making these third world countries more prosperous is for us to work more directly with the people, and to give the individual people more power. And if we provide financial assistance, let it go directly to individuals, bypass the dictator type governments, and do what we can to assist the actual people. And that would, I think that'd go a long way, because once people get a little power to themselves, and then things begin to change for the better. That's what caused the revolution here in the United States, was when the people started to feel empowered, and then we had a revolution that threw off the tyranny of King George. Okay, any other comments or questions before we wrap it up? Okay.
Well, I think, I was just going to say, I think Trump has the right idea. He's not saying that people can't come into our country. He's just saying they have to go through proper channels, rather than, rush the walls and bombard our country. He's saying you know, anybody can come in, they can get a green card, they can apply for citizenship, they can go through normal channels that everybody else has to go through. So it's not anti-inclusion, inclusiveness. He's pro. He's just, you know,
Yeah,
the
and
way.
it has to be done by law, and this is what the Tibetan points out, the importance of law. And the seventh ray is coming into power, which is governs law and order. Yeah, so we need to everything needs to be done orderly through laws, and if the laws don't work, then we just need to change them rather than just break the laws all the time. And so anyway, we need to create sustainable laws that everybody, the majority at least, feel comfortable with. Okay, any other comments or questions before we wrap it up? Okay, we appreciate everybody being here, and appreciate all the nice energy that everyone